just gonna make a long video here. Yeah, YOLO. All right, so can you see me in the video when I'm, okay, great. I wanted to make sure I didn't cut off my own head in the video. So this activity is going to be sort of the launch of the big research project. So can anybody articulate or take a stab at what some of my goals are with this big research project? I've never named them explicitly, but that's okay. If you have some ideas of what it might be, that'd be great. I'd love for you to share them. Keith?
Get us to learn how this stuff is applied in real world scenarios.
You have to learn applications of course content. Yep, definitely.
To learn how to analyze data specifically from telescopes and resources.
Learn data analysis. With astrophysical data. Okay, you could not. That'd be great. What else? What are other things you've gotten out of research projects that might have been a surprise to you?
They allow sort of in-depth, like dive into something where you can use like field work versus just like looking something up.
Right, so field work, data collection, as opposed to looking something up. Yeah.
The opportunity to dive into something we actually like are interested in and like have been
Yes, yeah, your interest is valuable, right? Like, you guys are interested in the universe in ways that are different than the way I'm interested in the universe. I am comfortable with that. This, I know I haven't shared the feedback that I wrote on your presentations yet. But one of the things that I sort of alluded to this yesterday when we talked about the pronunciation piece, you're gonna be the expert on something. I want you to become an expert. I know about exoplanets. I know about brightness and HR diagram. I know about globular clusters, but I want you to know more than me. I want you to have gone past, to quote Yoda, we are the people they go beyond. They grow beyond? I can't remember the exact phrase. I want you to know something better than anybody else in the room. And I think that is something that we don't do a lot in high schools, and is also like totally valuable for you to do now. Okay. Anything else? Ron, did I miss any bullet points that you think this project will have? Any of the rest of you? Yeah.
I feel like working through problems and frustration. I feel like when you're doing things in a book, there's an easier way to like find an answer key and just be done with it versus having to like work through issues or anything.
I was actually going to say the same thing.
Okay.
Perseverance.
Yeah, perseverance. The same side of that coin is creativity. These problems have a lot of different ways to solve them. And I have the method that I would choose, but you might choose a different method, and I want to support you being creative in your problem solving skills. Okay. So these are all awesome things. I agree with them, cool, great, but this doesn't really help us with the project, does it? It's good to know why we're doing what we're doing. Great, awesome, sweet. Thanks, David. Thanks, team. Bye. You want to know what we're doing, don't you? So you need to use data. One of my very few non-negotiables for this project is you must use data. Okay, you must use data, which we can alter to you must try really, 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 really hard to use data. Last year, people failed to use data. That's okay. There are reasons why it's totally acceptable to have your data fall apart. You not trying hard enough, you getting up, those are the unacceptable reasons, right? There's gonna be weather. We're gonna buy telescope time. Some of you will buy telescope time in the next 48 hours and be like, cool, I can come in on Friday morning and the telescope didn't take a picture. Could have been weather, could have been technical, could have been you tried to pick an object that was in the northern hemisphere, the telescope was in the southern hemisphere. Any number of these reasons. That I understand. The reason we're doing this today is so that on Friday we can buy telescope time again. You can undo that mistake if you made a mistake, or we can try to buy that telescope time again. Okay. So this is like the most important piece. It has to use data. Cool. This is where your 5-minute talks were really awesome, but very few of them lent themselves to data. I love the Drake equation. I love the Drake equation. The very first day I launched a weather balloon, I went and met Frank Drake in the afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, he was speaking at the Exploratorium that night.
It's pretty cool.
It was really, really cool. Yeah, he lives in the Bay Area. His license plate is a bunch of the letters. Truly, it's a vanity plate. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is long enough ago that he might have since passed, but like, yeah, he's active on the internet. But you're not going to do research on the Drake equation because there's not really data there. As you said, it's probabilistic and it's sort of beyond the capabilities of what we're going to get done in 2 weeks. Nucleosynthesis, I love that. I have such a place in my heart for nucleosynthesis. Nucleosynthesis occurs in the core of stars, which means we can't observe it until the star dies. So the research to be done on nucleosynthesis is difficult, to say the least. We can't bring a star into the classroom. I mean, I'm considering bringing a star into the classroom, but Luke would probably get annoyed with me if I brought a star into the classroom. On the bright side, you'd never have to go to school again.
On the bright side.
Johnny, here for it. Okay. So again, there are some of them that were reasonable for you, that you'll be able to pretty quickly turn into a research project, but, okay, so, what are some of the types of objects then that you could do your research on? Let's make a list of types of objects we can research. Okay, so Margaret, I'm pretty sure that's Margaret who said that, right? Yep, so exoplanets, for sure. Stars.
Stars, dude.
Nebulous. Yep.
Planets.
Non-exoplanets, if you will.
Yeah, non-exoplanets.
Yeah.
Space.
So-
like the space between.
So, but I don't know if you remember, we sort of had a conversation about this the other day, that what's hard to study about space?
There's nothing to study.
There's very little there. The stuff that's there is interesting. So, the average density of the is it stellar or galactic space is like 1 hydrogen atom per cubic meter. So can you imagine, so that if you took 2 of these tables and stuck them together, the volume underneath of them is basically 1 cubic meter. It's close, it's not exactly, but whatever. 1 hydrogen atom. That is not a lot of stuff. So the problem with not a lot of stuff is it's hard to collect data from not a lot of stuff, because even if it was really bright, it's still really tenuous. So I'm sure there are people who do research on interstellar, interplanetary, intergalactic space, but given that the scale of the telescopes we're going to use is like this big, and not like the size of this whole wing of the building, or in space, we're probably not going to do that. But I like that. I mean, yes, if that's your research for your undergraduate or postgraduate work, cool. Probably not what we're going to do today. There's one more thing on here that we haven't named that actually nobody talked about in their presentations. Okay, so you're gonna go with, so I'm gonna call this planets and other rocks.
Does anyone say galaxy?
Galaxies. Okay. So this is approximately all the objects. There are some other things you could do, but there's one other rock that I should mention. There's a specific interesting rock. The moon. You could potentially do something with the moon. Cool. Do you see something on here that you find interesting? Do you gravitate towards one of these objects? Okay. Hopefully you find one of these. See at least one of these that you're like, yeah, I sort of think I could find something interesting there. Yes.
Is this a group project?
This is so. Could somebody else describe for me the answer to the question? Is this a group project?
Your data can be the same, but technically,
Your data can be the same, but
Well, it's like two people are working on this similar topic, but they're separate, but it's like if one person fails, then they can draw on the other.
so ideally we have 14 data sets in here. Hopefully you find a partner who is interested in the same thing as you, so you can collect similar but different data, right? If you're both looking at exoplanets, you both find different exoplanets and collect different data on. So you can talk through the procedure, the process. But if you and Margaret are both doing exoplanets, and Margaret's telescope doesn't take the data, and still doesn't take the data, then you borrow your data. But you're still, so these are very much individual. But hopefully you have a peer in the building. Yes, cool. All right. May I erase our objects? May I erase the list of objects? I'm used to more whiteboard space. I'm really struggling on the amount of whiteboard space here. But what's that?
Talk about lunch.
Oh.
Barbecue.
We will have lunch in half an hour.
No, I'm just asking what it is. Just curious. Okay.
I'll give it to you.
Barbecue what? Barbecue what?
So what data do we collect? What data do we collect? Pictures. What are pictures a collection of? Pixels, okay? So it's a grid of picture elements. This is a simplified picture, continues off a ways. And what goes in each pixel? What data goes in each pixel? What is the thing that is represented in a pixel?
An RGB value.
Light, the amount of light. The amount of light in this pixel, in this pixel, in this pixel, in this pixel. So it is an RGB value, yes. We're going to do black and white data because it's complicated. Right, so when you have a picture of, I'm going to draw a really good picture, you guys. Just hold on, hold on. Okay, all right. You have a picture of a person, and there's the sun in the sky. These pixels have really big numbers. The shade from the tree is really little numbers. That's like the basics of pictures and data. So we're taking pictures, and we're gonna actually have brightness on the y-axis. In effect, virtually every project here because your data collection is taking pictures of brightness, of stuff, your dependent variable is going to be brightness. It might be, we might call it magnitude, we might call it luminosity, we might call it, those are the ones, what was that? Flux. But all of those in the end are one way to measure brightness. Maybe it's the brightness there, maybe it's the brightness here, maybe it's the brightness on Earth. Like, in the end, all of these, sometimes this is called intensity. Okay, all right. So, have you seen things on these posters? So I recognize I'm going back a few days. Do you see things on these posters, ideas on these posters that sound interesting to you? Or do you have ideas in your interesting section of your notebook that it sounds like interesting to you? Now that I give you a little more direction on what we have to do. I want to make sure to put those first. Do you have ideas? Romy is doing the right thing. Romy is looking at his section of his notebook where he wrote down stuff that's interesting. That's okay. You know, I actually don't know that this will be a super fruitful part of the discussion. I just want to make sure to privilege that. Like, if you've already thought about it, I want to make sure you get a chance to put that on the board first. So projects that I have ideas for that you could do with stars. You could measure the period of a variable star. You could measure the period of a binary star, which is a weird phrase, a binary star, but it's what we're doing. You could build an HR diagram, which is the brightness of a lot of stars. You could measure, we'll get these two pieces, the afternoon lesson that I have for you, we'll clarify these a little more, but measure the age of a star cluster. Let's see what else on my star objects. You could measure using archival data something about the composition of some stars. Okay, those are my main star projects. Again, I am open to other things. Ethan?
Should I try to figure out the very center of a binary star?
So you could find, yeah, so there could be a whole binary star set of questions. You can measure M1 and M2. Yep, lots of options there. Okay. These are sort of all my star ideas. Oh, I guess that there's the measure from basics, the brightness of some stars. Like for some of this stuff, it's not Googleable per se, but like there's a pretty clear, like, oh, if I know that, I know that. but I know that. Whereas this one, you could like start a little farther back to measure to like confirm some of those previously like Googleable type options. Not really Googleable, but like look upable. Oh yeah, right. I have binary star length curve. The truth of the matter is, this and this are almost the same analysis. So if you're like variable stars are really cool, and somebody else is like binary stars are really cool, the steps you would take are very similar. So if somebody's like, I really want to do this, and somebody else is like, I want to do this, I'll probably make you guys talk. Are people seeing things that are interesting? For the people who did not say yes originally, you started to see ideas here that might sound a little more interesting to you. It has some like, I know I'm a little past halfway on topics that I have. So that's my stars list. You could confirm an exoplanet. This is very much the same analysis. You could look for an occultation. This could be of a star, or yes, it could be by a star or a smaller object. Of a star. This is a way to study atmospheres or rocks inside the solar system. This is going to be a lot of looking. This is going to be a needle in a haystack. We already defined this thing called an occultation when one thing blocks another thing. I think the analysis will not be very hard, but I think the getting there will be a little hard. So this is the other thing about this part of the project. Now, like some of you will have a very clear path for 3 days, and some of you will be stuck at minute 1, which would be great, because then I'll be able to help you, Ron and I will be able to help you in a way that like, those of you who need help immediately, we can work with. Those of you who need a little more time, you can go do that for a little while. Let's see, a little bullet point on this. These are no longer the stars heading. I just have not enough whiteboard. You could the age of globular clusters. Oh, yeah. You could try some lucky imaging. I might have to drive to the Sierra to do that. That'd be fun. You could do something with the moon. Last year, Natalia measured a mountain on the moon. Other things you could do on the moon is you could do a latitude and longitude analysis of the types of structures on the surface of the moon. You could do so you can measure the height of the mountain on the moon. You could do a lunation, the distance to the moon measurement. There are lots of moon problems that you could solve. If you choose to do one of these, I might make you actually take the pictures. I wrote here, you could do something with the sun. I don't have a good idea what you could do with the sun, but you could try to do something with the sun. If the sun is really interesting to you and you have an idea, great, let's do it. You could do galactic comparisons. I'd love to see some isochrones, which is to say, make a graph of the brightness of a galaxy, which I think can help you determine the age of the galaxy if you know 1 or 2 more things. You could do some videos of, putting this in quotes, of Jupiter's rotation. Or of some of the big moons around Jupiter, the Galilean moons. motion. And then there's the whole set of archival data stuff that you can do. So sort of just like so archival data you could use to go on a fishing expedition. Go fishing for something interesting. Okay? I'd have to sit with you and work that out. If that's something that's really, if all of this is like, blah, which hopefully you found something that's more interesting than other things on there that you can find a way to grasp onto.
I thought you were talking about actually.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Like you can throw in your line and reel it in and see what comes back.
Yeah,
I got a boot!
Got radial velocity data.
Radial velocity data, ooh. Oh, you could measure the rotation of a star. Right, you can do some of the Doppler broadening. Yeah, that'd be cool. That's basically just spectroscopy that you can do with that with. Do you feel like you have some semblance of something that you could start to say, I might be interested in that area? Okay. Do any of you not have that idea? Like, how many of you do not have that idea? Like, I want to do something over that way. Just maybe not have that right now. Okay. That at least it's this. That means that the thing that you're like, well, I think this might be interesting. I'm going to get you excited about the thing that you present to me. Okay. I'm going to hit stop on this. So here's what I want to do. 27 minutes. Monstrous. Hey, stop. Please stop.